All right, we're back. Actually, it's been a few weeks, been a month or so since we've done an episode. First in season episode we're doing, and we just want to throw out some guys maybe to target for trades right now. We've gotten 5 weeks in of the season. I mean, some things we got right, some things we got wrong. A lot of stuff out there that like still don't understand what's going on. You look at the stat leaders right now; it's crazy. It's all over the board. But we got a couple guys maybe to target right now, see if you can still get them. Actually, I wish we would have done this episode like a week ago. We were supposed to, because a couple guys kind of blew up a little bit more or kept doing well. That might be harder to trade for now. But hey, that's what it is. But we'll have a couple guys here. Jeff, what do you got?
I think my big one, I'm looking at guys that have not lived up to the hype, and people are willing to cut bait. Yep. And one of the positions I want to talk about, and I'll kind of group them together, is tight end. Once again, we talked about how tight ends in the past have been kind of a wasteland. And I think this year is even more
brutal.
So. It is rough out there. We're talking about the number one guy overall, and I think this is in standard, is Kittle, and he only has 40 points. That is the number one overall guy. And that's basically buoyed by the fact that he has 3 touchdowns. I'm looking at this, and we were big. Craig sounded the alarm on not drafting Travis Kelce because he was going to cost you way too much money in your budget, and he wasn't going to return the investment. Now, I think is the perfect time, as he's ranked currently at number 11th tight end. The people were probably like, yeah, he's not going to be that same guy. Like, I grabbed, he's going to be fine, but I grabbed someone that's way over like valued. I think they'll be willing to trade with him for much lower than you would have drafted him in. And I think right now is the perfect time because he's 11th. You're probably pretty sick of it. And Mahomes isn't even doing that well. The offense is kind of, they're just kind of doing okay. But I think that they can do a lot better, as any Mahomes team can. I think Travis Kelce, because of his last couple of weeks and him not scoring touchdowns, makes me feel really good. The last 2 games, 7 receptions, 9 targets for 89 yards. And then last week, 9 catches for off of 10 targets, for 70 yards. Nothing prolific, but going in the right direction as far as targets and how much he's going to go. And then we're going into a bye week. I think now is the time to go after him and see what they actually want for him. They're going to want, more than you probably want to give, but it's going to be much less than what you would have had to draft him for. So him, and honestly, I think if people haven't dropped him, I think Mark Andrews, they're going to be so angry they want to get rid of him.
You get him for nothing.
I think he is one that I would go after relatively hard, quote unquote. Not that I would give up a ton, but I would be looking for a sweetheart deal, because sitting there knowing Isaiah Likely, which I love, has been doing well. I think Mark Andrews is going to be going back into the fold, and I think that he is going to have some big games. And right now, if you get either one of those guys, I believe that both of them have a very good chance of being in the top 5, and they can just explode in the second half of the season, and you could actually get a very good deal on one of them. That's who I'd be looking at, because right now it is anyone's guess on who's going to do well. You can continue to stream, that'd be fine. But, and no one's going to give up probably like Brock Bowers, who's like a young guy, or Kittle. So go after one of the tried and true guys that are older. That's who I would be targeting right now. Yeah,
Kelce, he wasn't worth the money at all. So hopefully you listened and you didn't do it. But I still would actually feel most comfortable with him, other than a couple of guys. One of the most comfortable with Kelce going forward, because he's going to get targets. He's going to get targets.
Yeah.
And I just traded for Travis Kelce in a league, and it took me Zach Charbonnet to get him. So, I don't think that's that steep of a deal there to get Travis Kelce.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I love that. So I have a couple running backs I want to throw out here. In standard, they're 23 and 24 actually in the ranks, and I'm interested. Like, a lot of this, it just depends on who has them and how they're feeling. So my number one will be Devin Achane, right? He's 23rd in standard scoring. He's had 3 very bad weeks in a row. He started the year strong, and that's with Tua at quarterback. And without Tua, that whole offense has been a disaster. But Tua is going to come back. He's going to come back. He's going to play. The offense is going to get better, and I think Achane's going to get better because of it. I think there's probably some people that have A-Chain that are just like frustrated as can be right now. And they're just thinking, in general, Miami offense is terrible. It's a disaster. It's not going to go. It's going to be like this all year. But no, Tua's going to play. And A-Chain's going to get better. And I think you can get him for way less than you could at the beginning of the year. I think people that have him are just probably willing to cut bait at this point. They might not even be thinking about it as Tua coming back. They're like, this is I can't deal with this anymore.
And even more so, he should be back because he'll have a bye to get over the concussion. But you throw in on top of that, last year he lost all that time because of injury. Now they're kind of like, not only are you not playing well, but you're injured. I could see that one as a real, and there's a lot of things lined up again. Mostert comes back, looks good, kind of bell cow role as A-Train got hurt, but yeah, I like that one. I think that one is high risk, high reward.
Yeah, and I don't really know. You might get another bad week from A-Chain yet, and it might not take a lot to get him. It's not as much as it should have at the beginning of the year. And then the other one who I think's going to be coming up is Chase Brown. I was on him earlier in the year. He started a little slow. He's really started to pick it up the last couple of weeks. I think he's been starting to out carry Zach Moss. He's a better running back than Zach Moss. I think that's what I said from the beginning. I think the Bengals wanted Zach Moss to kind of be that anchor there, though, that guy, and use Chase Brown a little bit. But this team's now 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to do something. And Chase Brown's played pretty good the last 2 weeks. I think you're going to start seeing him get way more involved. And he's still running back 24 in standard scoring right now. That's not bad. That's really not that bad. But I think he's going to get better and better. And I think you got to get him now before that happens. I think you're going to get a good stretch coming up here from him. So go after him now.
I would almost hope, the Giants haven't been terrible against the run. You almost hope that he has one more bad week if he's not willing to part, and then they're kind of like, okay. Because right now he's kind of ramping up, but he's still not really a name. So I like that one too. That's a good one.
I just throw this is the one that I'm going to throw out the name only because I don't think this is an option because I think people who have him think he's too good as Brian Thomas. If this was, I wanted to bring him up a week or two ago when we were thinking of recording, and then he had that big touchdown. I'm like, I saw him get that big touchdown this weekend. I'm like, I can't use him now as the name because it was the people that have him most likely are not going to want to part ways from him. He's really looking good, and I think a couple weeks ago you could have got him, maybe though. But it's worth the shot. It also depends on what other receivers that team has and how good they are. That maybe Brian Thomas doesn't need to be used, and maybe you're in a 2-receiver league. Maybe it's worth a shot. But I think he's done too well the last couple of weeks where I think it kind of ruined that opportunity.
Yeah, and I include myself in this, but if you draft a young guy, you give him a little more time, and you also want to be correct.
Yeah,
and
it's tough.
That's why I think it's easier to go after older players because you're kind of like, okay, well, if they're not doing what they, and honestly, I'll throw one more out there. And this goes along with what I was saying is I'm looking for opportunity. And right now, if a player is injured and people are like, I need to win now, or like, hey, even if he comes back, I can't, I can't rely on him. And I think that guy is Cooper Kupp. Like, I know that I was a believer in Kupp, but he looked really, really good. Then he got injured. That still might be the case. But if you're looking for a target that is going to come back relatively soon, hopefully week 7, that is a guy that has huge upside. And especially if you're looking to bolster a team that you're not already doing well, you're going to have to take some risk. He would be the type of guy I would be looking for.
And I don't think you're going to see Puka till probably November. It seems like. So you're going to have definitely a few weeks of just Cooper Kupp out there. Yeah. And that it'll be pretty good, I believe, with him. But yeah, Brian Thomas, I wish we would have done this episode a few weeks ago. I think that would have been a solid one. He looks pretty good. Let's see if there's any other names out there. I'll throw one more. Just he had a good game last week though, and that was Garrett Wilson. I think you're going to start to see him ramp up. He leads the league in targets.
I was going to say I still love Garrett Wilson.
56 targets. He leads the league right now, which is crazy. He only leads by 4 over Malik Neighbors, who missed an entire game. Yeah. Neighbors is getting targeted like crazy.
Oh, actually, yeah. Not to cut you off, however, but along the same line, another guy that is getting a lot of targets that just hasn't translated quite yet is actually Amari Cooper.
He's third in targets, yeah.
Yeah, third. I didn't even realize. I thought maybe he was not quite that high.
He's
but
third, yeah.
Look, Cleveland has been atrocious as far as they've been able to throw. But if you're getting that kind of volume, it's only a matter of time, really. And if Watson actually pulls it together, so he's another one that I think you could trade. And let's be honest, no one is like in love with Amari Cooper. That actually might be a really good one.
That's a good one because you look at the numbers around him, like of receptions and yards, like the other guys with the targets up there. He is so far below everybody. You feel like it's going to have to start translating. I mean, even so, he's tied for third in the league in targets with Wan'Dale Robinson, which is Wan'Dale.
Who would have thought that?
Third in targets in the league, tied there. Wan'Dale has 12 more catches than Amari, 22 more yards. Wan'Dale's yards per catch isn't that high.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And
really
same touchdowns. So Wan'Dale Robinson's been got better stats than Amari Cooper with the same targets. You just have to think that's going to change for Amari. And just with the whole overall atmosphere with the Browns, it seems pretty poor. Like you should be able to get him for pretty much nothing. Yeah. And so the targets are there though.
That's why you're looking for something that people would be willing to trade. That you don't have to go above and beyond to get it. What do you think about do you think that Darnell Mooney, first, do you think he's real? And number two, do you think, even though he's been doing really well, do you think because his name recognition isn't quite as high, he's a trade target?
You could probably, I think that's somebody you could probably get for little. And I think some of the teams that have him might just be like, oh, he's a fluke. We'll get rid of him.
Yeah, I think you might be buying at the height and they're kind of like, okay, good. I can get something out of him.
He's been pretty solid. Like the numbers, I mean, really translated this last game, but the targets have been pretty good before that. They were 7, 8, and 6 the games before that, and 16 this past game. But the Falcons are going to throw the ball. Cousins is looking pretty decent now. He's starting to get into it a little bit. Drake London's been good. I think Mooney's going to have some good weeks. If you need a guy, you could probably get him for little. I would think.
Yeah, I think he would be available.
Yep. And then I want to throw out a couple names, maybe guys. Maybe time to start thinking about trading them, but the problem is, are others people? Can you get value?
Yeah.
And one of them is a running back, and it's Chuba Hubbard. He's 10th in standard right now. It's pretty good. He's had a pretty good stretch last couple games. He started the year really poor. But is this going to last? First off, it's the Panthers. Not the greatest. Can this last? And what happens when Jonathan Brooks comes back?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's an interesting one.
Is it worth... Running back can be tough when you get a guy that you didn't spend anything on. It's hard to get rid of him, but maybe you got to look a little bit. It depends on how much you're using him, right? If you absolutely need him, it's hard to trade him. But if he's like your third or fourth guy and there's a needy team out there that needs a running back and something else, it's probably worth looking at trading him. I'm not sure this is something that can last. And then the other one, it might be too early for it. But I guess it also depends on the makeup of your team. But Jordan Mason, it's like you just got to look into the Christian McCaffrey stuff and see when you think he's coming back. It's probably too early because I think you're going to get another month out of Jordan Mason at least. So just keep an eye on that one.
I'll be honest,
it's tough.
That one's tough because if you,
it's not now. You can't do it today. But just I would say you have to have a good, strong indications that McCaffrey's close to back. That's what you got to do for that one. There's not I was looking at guys that like, all right, let's trade these guys away. And there's not a lot to me right now. Even some of the top 10 running backs like Brian Robinson's 7th, but I like that Washington offense with Jaden Daniels. I don't think I want to get rid of Brian Robinson. James Conner's 9th in standard again. The guy just does it every year. And we overlook him every time. I think we said that a couple.
Yeah.
It happened, but that's really, I don't have many trade away guys. It was Chuba Hubbard. Maybe if you can get some stuff. There's not a lot. I feel pretty good about the receivers that are up there. Like the top receivers, Jamar Chase, Nico's up there. He seems to be doing well. Jaden Reed's interesting. He's had a couple big weeks, couple down. That's an interesting one. I don't think I could trade him though. If you have him, it's again one of these situations where some of these guys, if you have them, it's hard to let go. So I don't know if you have anybody else that you're looking at trading away, but I just don't have it. Too many. Alec Pierce is wide receiver 10 in standard.
I know.
Man.
Which I do love. He's a long-time stash for me. But trade away.
You know what? I will throw one more.
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
I was going to say, we haven't talked about QB yet.
I think Josh Allen is going to end as a top 5 quarterback probably. Mm-hmm. And maybe even up but it's going to be a roller coaster type ride. I feel like, because he doesn't have the consistent receivers this year. So he's going to have huge weeks like he's had. He's had 2 weeks over 30 points. He's also had 2 weeks under 10 points. That's something. I think Josh Allen, if you want to get off the roller coaster ride, you might trade him away. Because who's his consistent target right now? Like,
it doesn't really, yeah.
Is it Keon Coleman's not that yet?
No.
Shakir might even be the main one, but he was hurt last week. I think you look at trading Josh Allen. I think you can still get a lot from Josh Allen. He's still a QB 5 or 6 on the year. He's still Josh Allen.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
it's just not as consistent.
Here's the other one. How much do you actually get? How much do you want to get back for a primetime guy? Because you probably won't get as high as Josh Allen, but I think of Mahomes as well.
Yeah.
He's still such a name that
I'm
people will take a chance on it. And I think, once again,
I think they would.
If you're not in a 2 QB league, you can stream a QB and you'll be okay, right? There's plenty of them out there. You know, if you're hurting and you have a Mahomes, you have a Josh Allen, you have one of these primetime guys, Jalen Hurts hasn't been performing as well.
Right.
I don't mind cutting bait because I think you can probably get more out of them.
I think there's people that are willing to take the chance though on them too.
If you're doing well and say even if you do have you got really luck with you're streaming Sam Darnold or you have a Geno Smith, Dak Prescott, all of them have been doing well. I would be going up being like, well, if I don't have to give up a major starter, like why not have a Jalen Hurts? If he turns it around, my team's even better.
Yep. But it's also easy to for me to trade. I have Josh Allen on my team, but I was one of those dollar Jaden Daniels guys. So I can trade Josh Allen and just plug Jaden Daniels in and feel it's going to be more consistent.
Right.
The way it's been. So, but all right, those are just some guys throw out there. See what you can do. I mean, the Josh Allen thing, I think that's one of the best ones that can get you good value, but just get yourself a starter out of it, a good starter. You don't need to go too crazy, but I think that's a good move. So there we go. There's some trade targets. We'll talk to you guys again sometime. Talk to you then.